Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm James Milan, and this is the update that we have each week with our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine. And Adam is joining us, as always, from the confines of your home, Adam. Great to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you, James.
Speaking of confines, we always start each week with talking about COVID and where we're at in town. And we have noted for quite a while now that we've been anticipating that things were going to start to ratchet up a little bit. And sure enough, there is an uptick here in town, and we've crossed over the number 400 in terms of, cases. Still modest compared to what's happening in other spots, including close to us. But give us your feedback on the numbers.
Sure. So you said it, and I thought about it in preparation for today's talk with you, that we've been saying for a couple of weeks now that we've been worried about a potential uptick, and unfortunately, we have started to see it. And it does seem as though just under 20 cases of growth that we've seen over the past week or more have been coming from extracurricular activities, family gatherings, and more social settings. So I think it puts us in a position to continue to advise people to stay vigilant and be cautious. It's also put us in a position to start thinking about issuing some guidance around various sporting activities. And I think we might be seeing some stuff or some further guidance come in that regard soon, if not later today, maybe later this week or early next week. But I think the other side of that is we're not seeing the spread in our schools. There are students who are positive, but contact tracers have not found that the transmission is occurring at the schools. It's outside of the school. So I think that is a positive, a silver lining in the uptick that we've seen.
Yeah, you're undoubtedly right about that. But I am curious about something because, I've been on the other end of these conversations with you for a while now, and I know that you keep on consistently hitting on the topic of let's stay vigilant, let's avoid these kinds of gatherings that you're now saying are, in fact, as best you can tell, the root of these problems. So it sounds like you and the town in general are delivering that message. Are you concerned at all that people are, either because of COVID fatigue or for any other reason, that people simply aren't, attending to that in the way that you would like?
Yeah, I think there is a growing concern in that regard. I was on a call yesterday with a number of other managers and mayors, and the mayor of Lawrence spoke really well to this point, that feels like a lot of local governments have done so well to keep people calm, urging them to stay vigilant, but keep them calm about how we're going to get through all of this, that it's create a relaxed feeling where people are not remaining vigilant. And I think he raised a really good point in that regard, that this is not a time we want people to stay calm. We want people to feel stable and comfortable that we will come through this together, but we don't want to mix that message with feeling like people can let their guard down. So I think, I will say what I have been saying, keep the vigilance up, keep that mask on. I mean, I would advise, regardless of what guidance might be coming from the federal or state government, this is not a time for large family gatherings or gatherings with friends, indoors or outdoor. I don't mean to say you can't see anybody, but I think we have to be cautious, right? Because the evidence is beginning to show that is where the spread is occurring.
Well, one potential large gathering that will be coming up is on in early November. We are coming up to the election day, and early voting is, well underway at the moment. Just wondering what your take is on how the voting is going so far. Clearly, new procedures and unprecedented circumstances, as often noted. How are things going?
So I think the first thing I'd say is Julie Brazil, the town clerk, and her team have just been exceptional, working in cooperation with the select board staff to put things in place, as well as the poll workers, the people that have been coming in to work for early voting and preparing for voting day, in further cooperation with the facilities department to make sure it's all being done safely, has really just been tremendous. They really are a tremendous team, and I think they've put together as safe as possible a venue for people to come vote. I think the number I saw was that There's already a 39% voter turnout with mail-in ballots and early voting combined. And we still have quite a ways to go left in early voting. So it seems like people are getting out there. I mean, if we're fortunate, we'll get a good number, maybe even up over 50% before voting day itself, which should make it so that voting day will be busy, but not overwhelming, and not create a situation where people feel like they're not, they're not safe going into the to the polling location.
I have to say that's kind of those are eye-opening numbers you just cited in terms of 40% up, very nearly 40% of people having already voted at this time. And as you say, there's another week to go in the early voting process. And, yeah, it'd be great, I would think, for us to get a majority of those votes in before we get even to election day.
Yeah, and I'll quickly mention that the clerk in her excellence has started working with the vendor that provides our voting software and our voting machines to do what's called an early scan of the ballots that are being submitted via mail and via early voting to reduce the amount of work that needs to be done at the polling location on election day. So we're really in good position to have results, at least from Arlington's point of view, pretty early on in that evening.
Yes, I'm not sure if the national electorate is going to be awaiting in suspense Arlington's results, but we will see. Anyway, moving on to the select board, as always, plenty to talk about there, but what are some of the highlights coming out of recent select board meetings?
So we had a very lengthy meeting on Monday. We've just had very packed agendas the past couple meetings. I'd say two highlights I would want to call out. One, we have received as a town a second installation of COVID CDBG, Community Development Block Grant monies, $320,000. We had received nearly $600,000 earlier in this year, and it's all supposed to be dedicated towards relief to those most impacted by COVID-19. So the first round, we were able to set aside monies for rental assistance for tenants, for business assistance, as well as being able to allocate money to some of our public services for food insecurity and other important needs in the community. For this round, we've chosen to focus on business assistance, putting a loan program together for a wider amount of businesses there than what was eligible in the first round, as well as dedicating further public service money to hiring a tutor to help students who are having challenges with remote learning, as well as giving Health and Human Services $60,000 to set up a COVID-19 testing site at Menotomy Manor to make sure some of our most vulnerable residents are able to be tested and kept as safe as possible through all of this. So the CDBG subcommittee voted favorably on this, and then the select board voted favorably on it on Monday night, which means we can start the process of working with HUD, the federal agency that oversees the funds, to put the money into people's hands as soon as possible, which will be later this year. The next thing I'd say is the board did vote to make parking meters operational again, effective November 4th. So we wanted to wait until after the election was done as to not inconvenience anybody coming to town hall to vote. But we'll also be rolling out officially a pay by phone application to try to reduce the amount that people need to interact with the meters when they're down in Arlington Center. So we're excited about that. And then finally on that point, the board preemptively voted to suspend metering in the lots, in the Russell Common lot and the Railroad lot for the last Saturday in November, and then the first 3 Saturdays in December to try to help promote shopping local in Arlington Center.
So generally, some good news there to share, especially about the CDBG.
I think
that's great stuff.
Yeah.
Let me ask you the last thing, Adam, briefly. I know it's around the corner still, but we've got a special town meeting coming up in mid-November, and obviously town meeting back in the spring. Adjustments needed to be made, and ultimately that was done out on the Pierce Field at the high school. What are the changes that you anticipate for this town meeting coming up?
So we're planning a fully virtual town meeting. It will be entirely online using a combination of the Zoom platform and a platform that's been designed by a resident in Lexington who also serves in their select board that will manage the documents and the voting, whereas Zoom will manage the interactions both verbally and from a video point of view. So I will admit, I think we're to some degree building a plane while it's flying in this on this topic, but I think we have to do it, right? We have matters that we want to address this fall. And it's very likely that we'll have to have a virtual town meeting in the spring, right? I don't have a full crystal ball to know that, but I think there's a high likelihood. So we got to get this up and running. We have to figure out how to conduct the town's legislative business in a safe manner while we're in this pandemic. So there's a team working of both volunteers and staff to begin training town meeting members on how to use this technology. We're also working to finalize all of the technology, again, sort of like the plane being built as it's flying. But again, we've got a great team of volunteers. Len Diggins from the select board is putting a lot of his time towards this. Eric Helmuth, who helped us get electronic town meeting voting a number of years ago, also chair of the CPA committee, and of course the town moderator are putting a lot of time into this, again, along with town staff from multiple departments pulling together to make sure that we can get this done in November.
Well, it's unusual, obviously, to hold a town meeting in November, but as you said already, there's important business to transact, and we'll be talking in the coming weeks with you about some of the more prominent warrant articles to be considered and decided on, et cetera. But thanks for that update and for the update in general. We appreciate your time as always, Adam.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, I've been speaking with Town Manager Adam Chapdelaine, and we will see him and you next week. I'm James Milan. Thanks for joining us.